Welcome everyone, my name is Kevin Garrett. In today's video on Mario Kart Tour, I'll be presenting landmark information here. This is an introduction to breakpoints. I will guide you through this very detailed and important information as we go through the formula for calculating the race points system and the implications that has for all of your investments in the game, particularly when it comes to the Mii Racing Suits. Any and all support of the channel is welcome, and I thank you so much for that support. To begin, we'll have a quick little refresher for those of you who are longtime veterans of the game, or if you're just off the boat and starting Mario Kart Tour now. How exciting, right? For all of the parts of your inventory that you have that are in the top shelf or the third tier listing on any course, whether they're drivers, karts, or gliders, are going to have access to bonus points boost. And this is unlocked as you level up your inventory. So any inventory part that's in the top shelf and has a level of 2 or greater is going to unlock an additional multiplier, whereby for each action that you perform in a race, up to a cap of 200 actions, you will gain access to bonus points boost. Now, the formula for bonus points boost has previously been shared on the channel here and across the entire Mario Kart Tour community. This has historically been presented in those charts as 1% of your item's base points multiplied by one number less than the level of that inventory. A quick example of that is if you have a level 8 quad capped high-end driver, not a Mii Racing Suit, where it has 1,610 base points and level 8. So we would multiply 16.1 by 7 because that's one less than the current level. And then the approximation for the bonus points boost would therefore be 112.7. The understanding is that half of this bonus would be applied during the race itself for each one of those actions leading up to the 200th action in the race. And then the other half calculated together would be included along with the position points that you receive at the conclusion of your race. Being that your bonus points boost in this particular example has a decimal, you might be wondering, as we have been, what exactly happens with that decimal and how does that factor into your score ultimately? Because when you do a run, you never have a decimal at the end of your run. It's always going to be a whole number. We're going to apply an example within the formula to see what exactly happens. And it's something that's very significant. It's going to present an entire paradigm shift with how everyone out there should perceive their investments. From this point forward, I'm going to be focusing predominantly on the Mii Racing Suits, since the base point situation is very dynamic and also requires your resources for investment in order to unlock the maximum potential that is accessible there. Moreover, when we're looking at regular inventory for drivers, karts, and gliders that are not Mii Racing Suits, those thresholds are basic and one size fits all. There's never going to be a situation where somebody's going to purchase a Cat Mario in their daily spotlight to power up a King Mario, right? It doesn't exist. It doesn't work that way. Only for the Miis. For this example, let's use a Mii Racing Suit that has a base point total of 1,830. And we'll say that it's at level 8, fully maxed out. So therefore, we're going to be multiplying 7 to this total. And then the next part in the formula is to multiply that by the CC that you're racing in. For standard competitive purposes, that is 150 CC. So we're going to input 150 for that part of the calculation. If you're thinking, if you have Gold Pass and you can race on 200 CC, it is still counted as 150 in the calculation. So 200 CC does not provide additional bonus points boost within this formula. So for either the purposes of 150 CC or 200 CC, we are going to be inputting 150 there. And then we divide that by 30,000. What this 30,000 essentially represents, just to take things back and so you can understand where the logic is in the community with the simplified formula for those bonus points boost tables that you have seen, is that 30,000 is half of a percent of 150, which is to say, remember before we were doing 1% of the base point total in that case. Well, this is only taking half of that. So it's going to be 0.5% of that. And then the other 0.5 will take place in a separate calculation at the end of the race. The product of the calculation is 64.05, and that's going to be applied to every action. However, Mario Kart Tour conducts something that's called favorable rounding, whereby every single number that has a decimal place is automatically rounded up. It doesn't matter how small it is. So 64.05 becomes 65. That's the number that would get added to the action score that you have generated for every single action. This is critical for the concept of breakpoints, as you will see, because by having the calculation added as 65 bonus points boost, you're essentially gaining 0.95 points for free for every single action that you're conducting. With this specific level and base point status for your Mii Racing Suit, now you might say, well, I want to soup up this Mii Racing Suit, so let's swing it over to the Mii Racing Suit shop, drop 70, 100 rubies, whatever the case may be, and pick up another Mii, bump up the base points now to 1,840. That will surely make the score that much greater, will it not? Well, let's actually see if that's the case. Let's swap out 1,830 for 1,840 and see what changes with the calculation. The product is now 64.4, but wait a minute. This is another decimal. It's just going to round up, right? So you just spent 70 rubies or potentially 100 rubies in order to get the exact same 65 bonus points boost per action. You see what's going on here, folks? That's what a breakpoint is. But we need more power, right? So let's go back to the Mii Racing Suit shop and drop now 140 rubies, or maybe we're buying them at 100 rubies each. So that could be 200 rubies total, right? So the range now is between 140 rubies to 200 rubies to increase the base point total up to 1,850. Let's see what happens. Well, swapping out 1,840 in the formula now for 1,850, we see that the product of the formula is 64.75. Wait a second here. This is rounding up to 65 once again. So the situation is still that while you have those 20 additional base points, it's not generating any difference within the half of the bonus points that are being calculated during your exact race. In fact, when your target Mii Racing Suits are level 8, it requires 3 Mii Racing Suit purchases in order to unlock the next breakpoint, in order to have that additional bonus point per action given to your score. Next up, let's go over the other half of the bonus points boost and see what goes on there, and then we can take a full view of it to appreciate what is going on here, and then I will provide you with those all-important breakpoints so you know just what to invest in based on the level of your inventory, and you're going to knock it out of the park. To get the other half of your bonus points boost, and this is what is added on to the position points that you receive based on the level that your player account is currently at. There are just 2 additional factors involved here, and that is the total number of actions that you had in your run. So this is run dependent, but this is just used to equitably pair up the bonus points for each of the actions that you had in the race, in addition to the position multiplier. Now, if you are in first place, this multiplier is 1, so it's not going to change the calculation. The only time that it changes is if you don't finish in first place. If you finish in second place, the multiplier becomes x.85, and if you finish in third place, it becomes x.75, and so on down the line. So it is absolutely critical to finish in first place in order to obtain the maximum score possible for a given run. The key concept here is that the favorable rounding for the position points at the end only occurs a single time for this one calculation, whereas during your run for the first half of your bonus points boost, you were acquiring favorable rounding for each and every action in the chain. And then for the second half, it's just on a single action, so it's entirely negligible. Going back to the original example where your Mii Racing Suit had a base point total of 1,830, what would be applied for each of those actions would be approximately the 64.05 that we would expect to see that half of the bonus points boost added to. For an accurate representation of the bonus points boost per action in the traditional sense that we're used to digesting that information through the tables, then the 1830 level 8 Mii Racing Suit would have a bonus points boost output of 129.05, and that's because we would be adding the 65 with the 64.05 from the position points calculation. And therefore, the first suit that you would have purchased in the Mii Racing Suit shop to bring it up to 1,840 would then have a calculation of 65 plus 64.4 to have a total bonus points boost of 129.4. So therefore, for all the rubies that you spent, you are gaining less than 100 points. In the entire race itself, the difference of the Mii Racing Suit that you purchased without bringing it to a new breakpoint, therefore confers a difference in score on a 200 action run of only 80 points. And it's really a very elegant solution that I will show you momentarily. First off, we're going to conclude with this example by taking a look at the 1,850 base point Mii Racing Suit, whereby we would add the 65 bonus points boost per action for each action during the run itself, with the 64.75 that you would get for the position points per action at the end, for a total of 129.75. The difference in your scoring output for a Mii Racing Suit at level 8 that you purchased that is not getting to one of these breakpoints would therefore be only 80 points. That's nearly 1 point per ruby spent, possibly even less if the purchase is for a 100 ruby Mii Racing Suit. And what's very elegant about this is 70 of that comes from the score itself, and 10 of that is from the initial base points that are added as a sum at the start of the race. And for level 7 Mii Racing Suits, if that's the plateau where you cap these things out at, then it would be 60 for the bonus points boost with 10, so it would be 70. So, and then it would be 60 points for level 6, 50 points for level 5, 40 points for level 4, so on and so forth. So it's very easy to see what this system is doing. Now, let's talk about these breakpoints. I will provide on screen here a list of all the breakpoints for level 8 all the way down to level 2. In fact, most significantly, we're going to be looking at things like level 8, level 7, and level 6. I'll make these available in a link below, as well as they'll be distributed through the various Discord communities out there. Level 8 has the most to talk about because there are the most number of breakpoints that are available, and that is because with the larger multiplier for having your inventory at level 8, which is to say x7, you're going to be reaching that breakpoint sooner and sooner than you are for lower levels. You will see it's scaled down equitably as we go down to those lower levels. And there's kind of a wobble effect that occurs with these breakpoints as well at level 8 specifically. So there are some that are better than others, and I have those separated for your convenience and understanding here. I'm calling those key breakpoints. We observe those key breakpoints at a base point total of 830. 1,030, 1,230, 1,430, 1,630, and 1,830. So in this particular example that I provided, that is the maximum amount of favorable rounding that is observable in this, which is to say, for each action, you are getting favorable rounding of plus 0.95 points to your score for absolute free, just because you have the knowledge in your disposal, this wizardry to adjust the scoring to the most advantageous for your own account. The other breakpoints listed here fluctuate in terms of how much you're actually gaining with that favorable rounding. What's important to keep in mind is that if you are at a base point total that is not represented here, then you are getting a negligible increase in your bonus points boost over the ones that are currently here. So the major context that I want to provide here, and I will continue to filter through the other infographics with the lower levels as I continue on in this discussion, is to conceptualize this in terms of how you want to play in your investment strategy and your resource acquisition and things of that nature, right? Because what we see here is that with level 8, you have to think about these Mii Racing Suits in threes. You're not just purchasing the next one and the one after that, but you have to think of it in a triplet, because that is the point at which you will receive the next break point. And if you're not doing that, then you're not maximizing the amount of bonus points boost. In fact, you could be making purchases that are totally negligible and not impacting your score in the way that you thought that they may have been. As we take a look at lower level breakpoints, there's fewer and fewer of them. In fact, when we get all the way down to level 6, which is the optimal point to take your inventory to from an ROI perspective, which is to say the bonus points boost you're gaining per ticket that you're investing into that item. Bear in mind, folks, that taking your inventory up to level 7 and up to level 8 accrues with it an extra magnitude of waste. And we can see that the system is a positive feedback loop. So if you waste into the one, you're not accruing as much waste in the other. So it's kind of like a prisoner's dilemma. You have to accrue the waste in one form or another. They are enforcing that onto their players. If you're only able to take your inventory up to level 6 across the selections that are the foundational pillars of your account, then you have to think about purchasing the Mii Racing Suits in a quartet. Every 4 that you're purchasing would then bring it to the next breakpoint. It's not 3, as in the case of level 8. And the situation gets more precarious the lower level your inventory is in the game. In fact, I have data here that will show you that takes a look at the entire overview of the situation when you purchase a Mii Racing Suit. How many of those purchases actually reflect an additional gain in a single bonus points boost? And it's something, and this is really something to behold, folks, because for level 8, we can see that 35% of your purchases will result in a breakpoint increase where your score will increase, but that means for nearly 2/3 of the purchases, no significant change. It's entirely negligible what is occurring to your score. This should apply additional context to just how much you're investing and what you're actually getting out of it. You have to follow the trail of numbers and where your currencies are going here. And that's the best the situation gets, with a maximum degree of waste from your high-end tickets, which takes 22 high-end tickets to get a level 1 Mii Racing Suit all the way up to level 8. If we only go up to level 7, well, then you can see greater than 2/3 of your purchases do not provide that breakpoint for your bonus points boost. And if we look at level 6, it's only 27% of those purchases. So that is that quartet, that idea of purchasing them in packs of 4 and planning your resources in that regard. Anything below level 6 is entirely wasteful. We see it's 22% for level 5, 16% for level 4, 11% for level 3, and if you only have level 2 inventory, only 5% of your Mii Racing Suit purchases, or approximately 1 in 20 folks, will result in a change in your bonus points boost increase. This is a very important topic to cover, and I'm so grateful that each of you have tuned in and listened to this information. My entire platform here is about making the experience more knowledgeable and therefore giving you, the player, the power to craft the experience that you want for your particular account. And that's going to be unique and individual to each and every one of you out there. If you'd like assistance with any of the topics we talked about in today's video, feel free to leave a comment below. Join the Discord server. That's where we can have more personalized and detailed conversations so that you can know and chart the progress of your account moving forward. And you're also welcome to check out the rest of my playlist of Mario Kart Tour content for all kinds of tips and perspectives that can take your game to the next level. That's all there is for this one. Thank you so much for your support of the channel and this community. I wish you all prosperity and success. Take care, everyone.